Here we go.
Oh, shoot.
Oh. Awkwardness and what it leads to. Perfect way to enter this conversation. What
Right?
can happen, right? How do you keep things smooth? How do you keep it going?
Right?
Yes.
I'm on a different computer today, so I went to fade it down and
Yeah,
it did not like that.
it's okay. I saw the background. I said, "Ooh, I know one of I know this background." And it was like, "Where in the world is Christine? Is she here,
Mhm,
here, here,
mhm.
here?" You said, "In Oakland." And I
Yeah,
remembered, yeah.
today I'm coming in from Oakland, California, the ancestral land of the Ohlone, and I am in at Interplace.
Wow.
So I am at our home office down here in Oakland, and
Mm.
delighted to be able to zoom in. Well, we're not zooming, we're StreamYarding in with you
Yes, we
today.
are.
But
Streaming in. In the
how are
yard,
you, my friend?
right? Grateful. Grateful to be having these conversations, like every week it's just been a it's been an effort to show up and do my best each day, right? Think about the day. What can I do better? And then are you going to implement it tomorrow? Where are we going to be tomorrow? And coming back
Mhm.
with renewed energy, like, okay, let's do it. And that's what I'm thinking about going into this 200th episode, being
Right.
present. Today is 188. So I'm not fast forwarding super. I'm looking to 200. But this conversation that we're about to have on holistic fertility and emotional and mental wellness during Women's History Month, I'm super grateful to be here.
Right? I
Yeah.
am too. I am
How
too.
are you doing?
I I am doing so well. I have so many things I want to tell you about, but I think
Let's do it.
first let's do our official intro
I'm with
so
you.
Sati doesn't cut some of the stuff I'm about to tell you
I
about
was
because
listening
I'm
to it.
very
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah. Let's keep it in the episode. Okay, y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey y'all, I'm Christine Gotro, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, best-selling author and publisher, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week and have intentional conversations between ourselves and with expert guests about how do we be wise in business, relationships, and wellness? How do we do this?
Mhm. So important. You know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about the news, we've been talking about where everything is, how we're doing. When we talk about surrender and calmness and centeredness and some of the things we're going to talk about today, it's very intentional. You have to be very intentional about staying in that place emotionally and
Right?
mentally with everything going on right now.
Can I tell you, like, my soul is so happy after this weekend. Um,
Mm.
I'm out here in Oakland. You know, this is our we call it the mothership for Interplay.
I love
Um,
it. The
but
mothership.
but one of the reasons one of the reason I'm out here at this time specifically is my
Mhm,
youngest is in college and it was her spring break and she wanted to come out here to see one of her besties,
mhm.
which one of her besties was I met. I think they were either second or third grade, right?
Wow.
And Lizzie was in my Girl Scout troop,
Hey,
and
Lizzie.
Simi and Lizzie became best friends
Mm,
and have really kind of grew up together, right? And Lizzie graduated from Georgia State last year and
hey.
is now out here working in California. And
Mhm,
it was just such a really sweet. She's working for this really cool conservation organization, and so she took us on a hike and guided us through this like preserve, and it was just a powerful moment, right? To and in so sweet, first of all, just her skills as an adult
Mm,
and guiding us and all this, but also, the things that we do, especially as women. I know sometimes in my own life I've questioned like, does it make a difference? Does this, was this worth this time and this energy? Was
mhm,
it
mhm,
um and I was a hike leader and a Girl Scout leader for years, like a
mm,
long time. I took this troop from, I think it was either second or third grade, all the way through senior high.
mhm,
And then to have Lizzie leading us on a hike in California in this gorgeous location. I don't know, it was fabulous. And then we went over the hill is what they call it.
mm.
Me being from Texas, I would call it a mountain, but going over the hill to Half Moon Bay to watch
Yeah.
the sunset at
Love the sunset.
on the Pacific Ocean.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was so
Weathering the Victory
got
Bell.
thank you, right?
Yeah, so beautiful.
So got the hiking, got the physical wellness, got the it was a old growth oak forest. So huge old trees that were just stunning. And California's had a lot of rain right now in the Bay Area. So green, which is not always the case, right?
Mm,
And so it was just so incredible to have that experience and get to be a part of it. I think and I don't know about y'all, but the ocean is one of my happy places. So getting the ions coming off the ocean and
mhm, mhm.
refreshing. Oh, and
I was
total.
thinking about you.
Okay,
What?
you want to know what happened?
You know I do. What happened?
Okay, we get to the beach, and there's this whole romantic kind of telenovela, but
Okay.
romantic proposal being set up with a gorgeous uh, pink heart,
Beautiful.
roses. There were even fireworks. Like it was a
Good
whole
job. Good
company
job.
you could tell that was
Okay.
doing it, and then there was a photographer. So not only did we get the sunset, but
Mm,
we got this whole sideshow that was beautiful. It was
little side mission.
awesome. It was awesome. And,
Mm,
I'll have to show you pictures when I get back, but
yeah.
one of the other things we did on this adventure is we went to the Rosie the Riveter, home site, national park that is,
What do you mean? I don't think I've heard of it.
I had never heard of it either,
Okay.
and, Denise had found it for us, and it's a
Mm,
national park
mm,
where they have a whole museum and exhibit about the women working. So it was in Haywood, it was in the Bay Area where Rosie the Riveter, this whole thing about the women during
mm.
World War II
The
taking
industrial
over.
the
Right, well,
industrialization and
you
going
know
into work from the household.
right, and where
Mhm,
childcare and where Head Start
mhm,
started and
mm.
where, the men were off at war, so the women started working, which
Yeah,
was and did a fabulous job,
of
and,
course.
so I have a souvenir. This is not the souvenir, I'm not
Okay.
showing your souvenir because I
Okay.
want that to be a surprise, but I have to
Ooh.
show you this because it's so cute.
Yeah.
Um, they're little empowerments. So it's
Mm.
a little tin with
That's cute.
Rosie the Riveter on it that says, "You can do it," and
You
they're
know what?
empowerments.
I like it. Y'all know I have a little pouch. I like little pouchements. That would be cute.
Isn't that
Okay.
fun?
I'm so
Isn't that
happy
fun?
that you got to do that.
Oh,
That and you went to Selma, you know,
right?
and talking about like women's history and how much, like you said, the things that you might question, does this matter? You know,
Mhm.
Aunt Joan take you on that trip. Did that matter?
Right, it
Look at
matters.
her. Look at the
Well, and I mean, you
legacy.
look at the women, like looking during Women's History Month to be able to go to this museum that I didn't
Mm,
even know existed, to
right.
learn more about the story,
Hmm.
um, to learn more about, of course, we see Rosie the Riveter in this one that
Yeah.
pretty much looks in the traditional poster looks like a white woman, but
Mm.
there are posters that have other colored women in there
Oh, you know,
because
I
there
like the
were
black one.
women
Yeah.
there were women of all shades
Yeah,
that were
of
a part of
course.
this,
Of course. That's American
and
history, right.
absolutely, but of
Yeah.
course we tend to whitewash it. So
Mhm.
it was interesting to be there to hear the stories. It was a very cool music. We got to press the riveter,
Mm.
so I got to rivet.
Mm.
So we'll put a show link in. So if you ever get a chance and you're out in the Bay Area, it was I think it was Haywood. No, it was past there. I, I think. Well. I'll just put a link so people can find it. I'm not
Okay.
gonna give you bad directions on air.
Hmm, I'm lost in California. Okay. I'm in Oakland. Like, no, you know? Go to the what do you go? Go to the show notes. Go back to the show notes and get the address, right?
Where you
No,
at?
but
Well, and it was a national park too, which, I
my
wanted to
goodness.
support a national park,
Yeah, no, you're doing
with
great.
currently what's also going on in our
Yeah,
nation and
right?
national parks being under attack.
Mm,
And so it was a very lovely stackable trip. You know how I
mm,
love to stack my values with what
yeah,
I'm doing. So it felt
yes.
it felt right on track. So my soul is very happy.
Mm, I'm so happy for you.
Thank
It's
you.
important. It's important. When we talk about emotional and mental wellness, um, I'm excited, y'all. I wrote about my schedule and asking for time off and knowing how to intentionally use my schedule. And was it volume one or volume two? It's funny now. I'm like, which book did I write this in? I
Right?
think it was volume two. Um, and talking about time blocking, but tomorrow's the mental health day, right? Chose to take it off a few weeks ago. I was like, you know what? This day makes sense. We're going to be off because as an entrepreneur, like your off time from work is work in another place. You know what I mean? It's
Often.
work somewhere else. Yeah, like it's not off. Like there should be a marketing campaign running, or some receipts that need to be organized. Somebody an email to follow up with. Like
Right.
Robin, I saw your email. I will email you back. I promise I will. The shea butter's on the way. You know what I mean? Like it's always
Right.
something. Um,
Right.
and so press and pause, like we talked about, and it'll
Mm,
be okay. It's been waiting. Whatever can be finished
right.
today will be finished, and whatever is not will be okay. And just being
Yeah.
able to trust that and go with the flow.
I
Yeah,
am
it's
so glad that you're taking a pause and taking a moment. And
thank you.
that's what I did like this last weekend because, like you said, usually we work weekends, we're
Yeah, of
doing
course.
something, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
of
to
course.
be able to, and we talk about nature so much on the show, like
Yeah, we do.
to disconnect and to reconnect with nature and
Mhm.
trees. And oh, I met a cork tree.
A
Have you
cork
ever
tree.
seen or met a cork tree?
I don't know.
It's where cork comes from.
That makes
Like, it
sense.
is
I've never
literally where
didn't think
I
about
didn't
it.
know it either. Like, it was, Sunnyvale, California, and,
Mm,
they harvest the bark of
mhm.
the tree and then process it into cork, and when
Wow.
they harvest the bark,
Mhm.
the tree actually absorbs more CO2 in the healing process. It was
Mm.
fabulous. I'll put a link to that in there too. It
So
was
interesting.
fascinating, and it was
Okay.
gorgeous, and it really
Mm,
felt like an elder tree. Like, it
mm.
was and, this is also the home of the redwoods out here, which
I know.
some of my favorite trees.
I
So
know. Ever
fabulous.
since I was little, like, that's the wood I like, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
don't know. Hanging out with the trees, it helps soothe my soul during these times.
And
So,
you know what Sati says, talking about Sati, yes, you do know. You
right?
know,
I do know.
when we
Yep.
talked about the trees, we talked about it in our books and just being connected to nature. I was thinking about you. We went on a couple of nature adventures this past week, and I was thinking about your story with the ions next to the water and your
Right?
waterfall that you like that you wrote in
Yep.
our books. Like, let's get some of these ions by the water, So I was over there stretching.
I
It's
believe in
important.
them. I
No,
believe in
really.
them.
Yep.
And
Hey,
and
this
we're
is
gonna talk to
it's
our
a
guest,
medicine.
right, about holistic wellness and
Yeah,
holistic fertility. And
it's important.
are you ready for me to read our definition of emotional and
Please.
mental wellness? All right,
Yes.
let's do it, y'all. Today we're talking about emotional and mental wellness. And this is about being aware and intentional of our feelings in all situations. It includes having the capacity and tools to handle and express these emotions in a healthy manner and the ability to learn and grow from experience. Emotional well being encourages autonomy, useful decision making skills, and striving towards good mental health.
Wow. A lot of times, on our episodes, we talk about what's the one thing that stood out in us being rule followers and rule breakers. We might say one, we might say three, right? So many things came up with what we're talking about with holistic fertility and
Mm,
um, the stories that I'm seeing, the medical landscape, and us, paying attention to what's going on. Thinking about it in general. I look at pregnant women's stomachs. I'm like, you want me to do what? Like, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like, you carried a baby. What do you mean? Um, And so it's so much to be able to unpack and to look forward to, and resources to get connected to. And I think about so many women in our community, and how they're like, yeah, I reached out to Christine and she told me where to go, and I'm so happy that I called her because I was at this other place and it was a no. So
Mhm.
very important conversation to have.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I'm looking forward to bringing our guest up. And I think about, if you're listening and you're like, okay, holistic fertility,
Right.
I don't want to do that. And you
Mm.
don't have to do that.
Right.
But I also think when we think about emotional and mental wellness, about being holistic, that it doesn't, it can be applied to multiple things, not just about having a baby and getting
Hmm.
pregnant. Like it can
Hmm.
be like birthing an idea, birthing a book, like,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, we know after going through 2 cycles of books and being on round 3 as we collect
Hmm.
authors, there to be emotionally and mentally healthy while we're doing it
Hmm.
is
A thing.
important,
Yeah, it's a
right?
whole thing.
It's
Yeah.
important, and, I think with anything we're doing, but especially when we're looking towards, do we wanna be parents? Are we parents? What stage are we in our life period? I think it's exciting. So,
Yeah.
you ready to bring this guest up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Y'all, today we're talking to Ashley Holmes. And Ashley Holmes is the CEO and founder of Holistic Fertility Coach Incorporated. She helps women struggling with infertility to conceive with ease by connecting mind, body, and spirit to optimize their health and wellness. Help us welcome to the stage Ashley Holmes.
Welcome,
Ashley, welcome to Women Connected
Ashley.
in Wisdom.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Good, good. I had something to say to what Christine just said, and I wonder what you think about it, right? She said, well, maybe you don't want to do holistic. And it's important. We talked before the show, right? It's important to know where you are and what works for you. My question as a natural person and somebody who's an advocate for always pairing like the natural part of it with the allopathic doctor and the traditional doctor that we usually think about in America, right? Is why. Why would somebody be hesitant?
And
I don't
before
know
you
why
answer
some.
that, Ashley, hold that
What do you
thought.
say?
It
What do you
wasn't
say,
about
Chrissy?
you might not want to do holistic. I was thinking you might not want to get pregnant.
Okay, and I figured it
Especially
might
in
be
the
both. Thank
no, it
you,
was
because 'cause I'm
I just
like,
want to clarify. No, it,
yes,
it was more about in today's landscape. But
right,
go ahead, Ashley. Back to you.
yes,
I think that holistic offers no side effects and
mhm,
is natural and holistic and healing in nature. So there's absolutely no risk involved. You're only going to be better off by embodying holistic practices. It's only going to make your chances that much more successful. And it's not that it has to be one or the other. I work with people that don't want to step foot in a clinic, and I also work with people who have been to a clinic and it hasn't worked. And then they've embodied this and taken the time to heal, and it has worked. So it doesn't have to be one or the other, but to choose what is right for you. And I think from my own experience that I did the traditional route the first time around, and I did walk away with twins, and I was very grateful for that. I am very grateful for that. But I also did not enjoy how I felt emotionally and mentally, and would
mhm.
not go back and use a clinic again because of how I felt. And so I think we need to consider our state of being during the process. And in fact, I was able to conceive naturally once I landed on my yoga mat and began to tend and care for myself in a way that was needed, and to have that space and opportunity to do so. So I don't think it has to be one or the other, but am I open to this is the real question, I think.
I love how you said that because I think that what I see when people are working on elevating their perspective, right? Being more intentional about their self-care, slowing down, doing the work, undoing all this stuff, right? Like you said, I landed on my yoga mat. They get to this place and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do the work. Sometimes, let's say for food, it might feel like people think that lentils is like dog food, or I'm going to be eating dog food and grass. Like the holistic is not appealing. It's not going to be fun. It's not. I think that sometimes people have that thought process with it, right? But I love how you said that this is the best way to do it. There are no risks compared to a list of side effects that might come with something else, or the natural amount of risk that we're used to in a list of different medical conditions and things that we go through, right? So I would love to talk about how you came from your yoga mat, right? And the work that you did with and for yourself, and how you help your clients through the Ayurvedic medicine, through the mind, body, spirit connection to get um, more ease and joy in this time, in this journey.
I think the best way to explain it was that for me personally, I needed to slow down, I needed to become present, and I needed to become mindful. And also, what really helped me was to make what was in my subconscious bring the unconscious to the conscious. And truly, that's where spiritual awakening happening and change and transformation happened, because what was unseen was seen and it couldn't be unseen after that. And so that was very life transforming for me. It brought life to me. And that's why every day I get on my mat and I show up for myself, because I know what that has done for me. And I think when we can truly love and honor, respect, and care for our bodies, we're going to be that much better off. And yet, I think a relationship, especially when you're trying to conceive, can get distorted because we don't think positive thoughts about ourselves, and there are all sorts of uncomfortable emotions that we're often not equipped to deal with,
Mm,
and there often are not the resources present to help you navigate this
mhm,
without feeling like you're on the brink. And
mm,
so I really feel like it's an important conversation to be had, because you're not alone, but
mm,
often people do feel alone, especially if
right.
no one in their circle is experiencing these things, and they feel like they're in it by themselves and what's wrong with me, and it can have a very detrimental effect on their mental health and wellness.
Yeah, and that's why I love how you share on your page, 5 million couples around the world are going through this. That's 10 million people, maybe a few more, depending on the type of couple that it is, you know what I mean? That are going through the situation. And what I thought about when I saw that number, Ashley, was I don't hear that many conversations about it, right? I don't hear
Mhm.
20 million conversations about it. So it makes sense if people are coming to you feeling that way, and I'm super happy that you're doing this work, letting them know that you are not alone. And there are simple things that you can pair with what you're doing that you can do if you don't know that you can do these things to tap into that. Again, I love how you said the rest and digest mode. Can you talk more about that? How you had to slow down and what that looked like for you?
For me, I didn't realize that I was in fight or flight mode for decades, and it really took that mindfulness and that presence to slow down, to understand what that actually felt like in my body, to be in my body, because I didn't have a mind body spirit connection initially. I was very disconnected between my mind and my body, and I was trying to do everything, including trying to conceive from my mind. Like, I just need
Wow.
to tick these boxes and I can make this happen. And so it was really unlearning that, my nervous system is only going to go as far and as fast as it has the capacity to. And
Right.
initially, that starts with feeling safe and secure in your body. And so it really starts at the root chakra, and to have this fertile foundation created from the root. And you cannot rush your healing journey. You can't bypass things, but you can move at your own pace and at the rate that you're ready to. And what will surface for you is only what you're going to be able to process and move through in the moment, and to know that we're not given more than we can handle at any moment. And so I think it takes care and time, and often we
Mm,
want to not surrender to divine timing and things like that. We want things to happen yesterday, and
mm,
it's not. And so that can lead to a lot of frustration and heartbreak and so many emotions that are highly you feel them in your body. You can be in tears one minute and laughing the next minute and think and feel like this is incredibly unfair. But to find a more of an even state of equilibrium as you move through this is possible. And so if you feel like this is too much to navigate and you feel like you're doing all the things and it's not working, trust me, there's more to you than perhaps that you've tapped into and accessed before.
Mm.
Thank you, Ashley. I really love, one of the things I do is with interplay and really accessing our body wisdom. And so it really stuck out to me when you said I was trying to do it all from my mind, right? And when Sheila and I teach our class on Tuesday mornings, so we teach a radical self and community care class. And we have this form that we always do where we say, now we're going to access the part of us that may be smarter than just our mind, and that's our entire body. So it really resonates with me what you're saying about taking time to really get into your body, to listen to your body, to be more present. I think all of that serves anyone, right? Regardless. But I also hear you because I've walked this journey with friends. I haven't personally walked this journey, but I've walked this journey with friends. And I think the culture and the society we live in often, we have expectations like we're going to do this by this age, like we're going to finish our school by this age, we're going to meet our partner by this age, we're going to have this fabulous job by this age, we're going to have, if we want to have kids, we're going to have our kids by this age, and then life happens, right? And but we can get, I think with anything, but especially I think with pregnancy and fertility, we can get in this, oh my gosh, we got to do it now, because if we don't do it now, we may never get to do it. um, and so I think that, and it seems so counterintuitive to say
It does.
slow down, right? But that slowing down, I think is invaluable. So I think it is. My sister had her twins at age 47. So,
Wow.
and there was a lot of ceremony. There was a lot of all kinds of stuff that brought those babies into the world. And I think the power of community too. Like, who are you walking this journey with? And I love this work that you're doing, Ashley, because, as a coach myself, not a fertility coach, but, when we partner with people, it's often they can talk to us in a way that they can't talk to, like, especially going, will you speak a little bit to that about why your role as a coach is so valuable as an outside person?
Because I'm not so emotionally attached and invested in this outcome happening right now. Yes, I can hold the big vision, the big dream, the big goal for you, but you just need to actually sit back and focus on you and tune into the signs and signals your body's giving you on a daily basis, and to really take that bird's eye view of you can get there, but we don't just get there by burying our heads in the sand and just focusing on the baby and that it hasn't happened yet, and that nothing you've tried yet has been successful. Or we can not allow ourselves to be present when we're still holding on to the past. We may be still holding on to something a doctor said to us or what our chances are, or we can take that away. We can embody that. And I know when I conceived naturally, I was geriatric then at that time. And I was like, you can say that, but I feel like $1,000,000 right now. Like this one baby pregnancy is way easier than twins. So I'm not
Mm.
going to embody that. You can say it all you like, but I feel fantastic.
Say
So
what? The word geriatric?
yes.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. And I'm glad you felt like $1,000,000.
Well, I think that it really just proved to me that I needed to be conscious and aware of my thoughts. And also, when I had conceived naturally and was geriatric, I did get a phone call that something was quote unquote wrong. And I was in the middle of my meditation and prana training at that time, and I had a little Buddha baby in my belly, and it was like, this is the test, you need to master your mind. Everything that you have been taught needs to be put into practice now. And so you can't let your mind spiral into the
Right.
what ifs.
Mhm.
You need to be present and you need to pay attention and you need to focus. And
Mhm.
false negatives happen and
Yeah.
everything is a-okay. And so I really truly believe that nothing is set in stone. And can you stand in your truth and can you just trust your body, your journey, and
Yeah.
life?
Yeah. Beautiful. So I hear you when you talk about couples, right? And on your page again, you talk about couples being able to use resources beyond medical intervention. So for those of us who might not know the full list, right, of medical intervention, when you say medical intervention, what are you thinking about? And then when you're talking about the resources that can be used outside of that, what do you think about in addition to Ayurvedic medicine?
So intervention is, any type of test, procedure, protocol that may be prescribed to you or your partner. And yes, perhaps those need doing. But I honestly believe that if you and your partner take that time and space to focus on your own health and well being before you ever step foot into the fertility clinic, you're going
Right.
to be a lot better off. And so, things that I offer is Ayurveda, which is your
Mhm.
nourishment for your inborn constitution. So what works best for you and your body, and this is not a fad or diet or a trend
Right.
that you see online. This works for you for your whole entire life and what is best for you and to work in harmony and rhythm with the seasons. It is the science of life and it's the sister science to yoga. So these things work beautifully together. They work hand in hand to help you return to feel like your best self. And so I offer yoga and Reiki and meditations and chakra balancing and lots of mindset tools to help you get over that overthinking, overanalyzing mind that is trying to make this happen from the mind because
Mhm.
it's going to happen not just from the mind, but from a
Mm.
mind body spirit connection and with a different type of energy than perhaps that you have been approaching it with before or previously. Because I would say most of us are approaching it with a yang, with a masculine type of energy. And we need to embody and bring that feminine and that yin quality into this as well, because we're both, but we may not be balanced in both. And so it's important to find that within ourselves.
So when you were with this monk, right, and you realized, and it was shown to you that you needed to slow down, and these are the other things you need to work on, what was that like for you? Were you completely surprised, or did it snap and you were like, "Oh my goodness, that makes sense," or um, that's how I'll leave it there. What was that like for you getting back connected to your body?
For me, it was never that anything was explicitly said like, this is why you have this is why you have these challenges, this is what you need to do. Nothing like that.
Mhm.
It was all offered in a safe, sacred, embodied space where I was able to discover these things for myself. And it wasn't that these things were told to me, it's that these things were awakened within me that were already there. And so I think it's important that I don't heal people, but I can help them to awaken the inner healer within themselves, and that people aren't broken or needing fixing, but perhaps they feel disconnected and they're looking for that reconnection within themselves. And so I think that's an important differentiation to make, is that it's also a not one size fits all. Everybody's journey is unique, everybody's nervous system is unique, and that where you're at is exactly where you're meant to be, but you don't have to stay in that space and place if that's not a comfortable place or your desired place to be.
Mm.
Right.
Ashley, I have a question for you. So, say somebody's listening to the podcast and they're struggling with their fertility, or they're struggling with their emotional and mental well-being. What would be like the first thing you would recommend they do to pause and be present in their body?
You said it at the beginning of the show. Getting into nature, grounding yourself is one of the best things to do, especially if you find that you're in your overthinking mind and you can't stop replaying conversations, or you can't stop, if you're in the 2 week wait and you just are just like, this waiting is killing me, get into your body, walk in nature, put your feet in the grass, go to the sand, depending where you are in the world and the climate. There's so many ways. And for myself, I live in Canada. So, I go skiing in the winter, and that's my way of getting grounded, is like to be in these
Nice.
big, fabulous mountains with these massive trees. And so I think we can always do things, but also what is grounding for me and how do I feel connected to nature best, and to actually tune in and ask yourself these questions instead of looking outward, because often we're out looking and we're not looking within, and everything starts within.
I love that. What practices, we often asked our guests, like, what are your daily practices or things you do for your well-being? Are there things that you do every day?
Absolutely. And they've been life changing. And I will do them until the day I'm no longer physically here, because I get on my mat every day. It's non negotiable. And it doesn't matter for how long, but it's just that consistency of showing up and giving my body what it needs. And so I get on my mat, because the saying is, get on your mat and all is coming. And that has been shown to be true as well. And so I also start my day with daily meditation. And so that has been life changing in not being pulled out of bed by mom, but to start my day with the energy and intention that I wish to take into the rest of the day, to show up for my family and to show up for my clients and to show up with an online business. I think it's so important to be mindful and present and aware of the energy that you want to be creating from, and not have the day happen to you, but you create your day.
Mm, I love
So
that, Ashley.
important.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So
Wisdom in
each week,
action.
yes, we ask our guests, what is their wisdom in action, right? So you talked about the things you do every day. Again, those are non-negotiables, right? That's like water, that's like sleep, that's on the list. Outside of those things, this week, for your emotional and mental wellness, what else have you been doing? Anything else that's been front of mind intentionally for you?
I went to the beach because it's spring break yesterday with with my boys, and it's quite cold actually
Mhm.
still, but they were throwing rocks on the and breaking twigs and seeing, where it would crack and where it wouldn't, and testing the waters and
Yeah,
and things, and just
yeah.
just being boys. And I was like, how great that you're in nature and you still want to be boys.
Mm,
And they were
mm.
drawing things in the sand, and we were just like laughing, and I was like, long may this last, was my what I felt internally, because a little part of me knows that forever, this may not be a forever. At some point they'd be like, oh, that's silly, or I don't want to do that anymore, or I wanna just wanna be with my friends. You're not cool to hang out with anymore.
And how old are they now?
Uh, I was with my 12-year-old and 6-year-old yesterday, so my
Nice.
twins are 12 and my little one is 6. So
Oh,
there's an big age gap there, and there's a lot of years where I didn't think that there was going to be any more, and I didn't think that that was possible for me. And so I think that to change and reframe your mindset to, anything is possible, because I think that it truly can be when you have that faith in trust in yourself and your path, and that nothing's going to miss you.
I
If
was
it's
having
meant
this
for you, it will
conversation
be.
yesterday. Yes, it is yours. Yes,
right. And
that's
Shannon, what
beautiful.
about you this week for your wisdom in
Oh,
action? What you thinking?
I just wrote something down that she said. I love it. What is your I guess this is not an action, is it? So I have to update it. But this is what I wrote down. What is your inborn constitution? right? Maybe
Mm.
something like this. I was telling my team that rest is part of my workflow. It has to be in there, right? Or it's not sustainable. We talk about still point and points to pause, all those things. So that's what I'll say. Um, Rest in my workflow. And even when I'm working, depending on what I'm doing, the pace is different, right? But no matter how fast the pace is, I don't want to rush. Still want to meet my deadline, but I don't want to rush. I don't have to always be urgent. I don't have to be chasing. It's just make sure you're set up and then get it done. So rest in my workflow.
Mm. I
What
love
about
that.
yours?
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I loved when Ashley said reframe, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Reframe. I
Mhm.
like that. That is a just take a deep breath and reframe. I
And I'm
yeah.
learning how to do that quicker and quicker and
Mhm.
quicker because, things keep changing and it feels like time is going faster, even though we knew time speeds up. I feel like as you get older anyways, I feel like it's increasing at the rate of inflation. Like, what's going on? So I hear you on being present, Ashley, and just watching the boys play and just being out in nature and doing our work and showing up for our non-negotiables on a daily basis is huge.
Mm.
And I think the quicker we can reframe and the more we catch ourselves and the
Yeah.
more that we are watching our thoughts and observing our thoughts,
Mhm.
then the easier it becomes. Because at first it kind of does feel like hard work. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, why is that showing up again? Why is that on repeat? Why? And it's like, okay, I see you. I
Yeah.
see you. I
Yeah.
get it.
Mhm. Very
Mm.
important. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for sharing.
Thank you for your work in the world. Thank you for companioning folks through this journey. And
Mhm.
we will put all of your contact information, your website, and everything on our show notes. But tell folks how, if they want to work with you and they want to know more, how do they connect with you, Ashley?
You can connect with me by joining my Holistic Fertility Coach Facebook group. It is a safe, sacred space to land in, to be, to ask questions, to know that you're not alone. And you can also find me on the health and wellness platform Vibely because I truly believe that our health and well being matters no matter what age or stage you're at. And so you can join me for yoga classes, meditations. You can find my coaching there. You can do Reiki sessions, all of the things, because if you're not feeling optimal in your mental health and well being, you can certainly take a step towards that.
Mm. Love
Beautiful.
it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your work. We're
Yes.
delighted to be connected to you, Ashley, and
Mhm.
we just appreciate hearing your story and
Yes.
knowing that you're out there. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Wow. Powerful
Mhm.
info and work.
My
That's
goodness.
right.
It reminds me of what we were talking about, the CDC, um, and the information at the beginning and different organizations keeping information. It's okay.
Mhm.
If a couple wants to, plan for their family, now where do they go? What are all the resources that
Right.
they
And
need,
Ashley's a
So
great resource for
my
that. I love
goodness,
that.
like to enjoy it, and to do it from a healthy way, to be mindful of the emotional and mental and not just the physical part of it. And I'm always for all the holistic and everything. So
Love it. I love the reminder to get on your mat every day. Um, used to have a really solid yoga practice, and then it was when I was training for triathlons, and I
mm.
had a bike accident, and I hurt my wrist, and I got out of rhythm
So I
with
have a
my.
question for you
Yeah, go ahead.
because this comes up a lot. Do you have a yoga mat at home?
I do. I got to get back on it. I'm
When
ready.
when do you get when are you
When am
gonna
I going to get home?
when are you gonna get on the mat, Christine?
As soon as I get home.
What is
As
the
soon as I
date?
get home. Well, I don't know because I fly standby, so I'm not exactly sure when I'm getting home.
March 20th, 2025, y'all.
I can say Monday. So before I get
What's
back
Monday's
on
date?
before I get back, hopefully I'm home by
Open my
Monday.
calendar. Hold
Um,
on.
before I get on next week, I will be on my mat.
Mm-mm. She said Monday, y'all. That is, hold on. Let me get this date.
I love
The
it. I love being
24th,
held to accountability. Thank
March
you.
24th, 2025. I got
Okay,
you.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I miss it. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding me accountable.
My pleasure. You're
Um,
still a triathlon. You got
I
this.
know it. I
'Cause
just
you
got to
go
get back on the mat.
it's
It
okay,
used to be
March 24th.
me and Rodney Yee
You and
every
who?
morning. Me and Rodney Yee.
That's
Um,
the video?
right?
I
Ashley says
remember you
this is
talking
your
about it.
loving reminder to get back on your mat. Yes.
Loving reminder. I
Yep.
love that, Ashley. I say gentle reminder. I like loving too. Imma
Right.
add that. Imma
Loving
add that.
reminder. Yeah, I have
Yes,
a
yes.
purple yoga mat that I love. No, you're
Mhm.
not going to be shocked.
Right?
I have several yoga mats, but the
Yeah.
purple one is my fave.
Okay.
I think the other thing that challenges me, just to be real, right,
Of
is the
course.
dog.
Okay,
Because the
mine too.
dog loves to do yoga and get all up, and then I get distracted. My ADD hits, and then I'm
Okay,
playing and rolling around on the floor with the dog. So
okay.
I'll have to make a plan for that.
Maybe you have 2 yoga mats, one for you and one for
One for
Monty.
the dog. He does it
And
with
then
me. Does
and
the
then maybe you
downward dog
do
with me.
yeah, that part.
I
And
love
maybe
that.
you do maybe it's yoga and play with the dog time. Maybe it's both.
Right,
Yeah, and
right.
then when you
I
say,
put
"Wait, I'm
extra
supposed to be on
time
the
into it.
mat," when
I'm
you
on the
realize
mat, the
you're
dog's on the mat, like,
yeah, when you realize you're not on the mat, just switch back and
right? I
be a
love
j
that.
yeah, loving reminders.
I think
Okay.
that needs to actually be my wisdom in action this week. I think I'm gonna change my wisdom in action.
You can
I
have
think it's gonna
multiple.
be
You're
get back to
reframing
the
it.
mat. Get
You see
back to
Ashley?
the
She's
mat,
already putting it into action.
right? I
Back
love
to
it.
the mat. We're doing
Back
both.
to the mat,
You got this.
right? All
Okay.
right, friend. What do our
So
listeners need to know about before we're wrapping episode 188?
y'all, we see the viewers, right? We see everybody in the room. If you are constantly here, you know that we've been talking about the book. We've been talking about volume 3, Women Connected in Wisdom, Stories and Resources Rooted in the 8 Dimensions of Wellness, right? The name is like as long as an encyclopedia set. Okay. What is not long is this list of authors that's here so far, but we are still shooting for the goal of 24, y'all. So if you
Yep,
want to share your stories, you like encyclopedias, you like soapboxes, you have 1,000 words to share with us, you want to share your story and your resource, come on over to Women Connected in Wisdom. We're working on volume 3, and we would love to
it's gonna be
support
a
you.
beautiful compilation book,
It's
y'all.
going to be amazing.
I think what since we have just a few minutes, I want to
Yes.
say
Mm.
one of the things I love about Connected and Wisdom Press and how we roll is we hold our authors' hands. Like
Mm.
we teach you basically how to be an author.
Yeah.
We have classes about writing your biography. We have classes about um, your your storytelling idea and how to
Mhm.
tell your story
Mhm.
from an embodied perspective. Like we make
Right.
sure we're in our bodies, that it's not just in our head.
Mhm.
And y'all, we all have more than one story to tell. So
All
we
right, of
also
course.
help you distinguish which story you telling. Like
That's part of
what
the
are you
class,
doing?
yeah.
And then what are you doing with it
Mhm,
afterwards? Because
mhm.
we have been lucky enough that as authors, like we get to speak on all kinds of different stages. We
My
speak to
goodness.
y'all every week as Women Connected Wisdom,
Yeah,
but
we
we
do.
speak on all kinds of different
My
stages.
goodness.
And
And y'all,
what
one of
you
my
thinking?
favorite what were you saying?
What are you thinking? You leaned in.
What you were talking about, you're talking about Sammy's graduation, right? You're in Oakland, she took this
Mhm.
trip, and y'all, being part of this book is part of what I got to share when I went to Agnes Scott, when I went to the school that she's about to graduate from, and,
Mhm.
had a great time, and we talked about it last week with Susan yes, Bratton, intimacy and sexual wellness. The story that I was gonna write in volume 1, I'm glad that I did not write it because this is not a story that I would wanna tell in front of
Over and
everybody.
over again.
You see what I'm saying? And if you know you're part of the authors and you can watch the replay if you're part of volume 3, and if you wanna know, just reach out to me because I said I didn't wanna talk about it everywhere, and that's okay right now, you know what I mean? Um, but things like that are important to talk through because you do wanna get paid speaking gigs. I
Right.
love what I made per minute when I did that speaking engagement,
Right.
you know what I mean? And that's what we want for our authors and our narrators. So keep going, Christine, I'm listening to you.
No, I just think about that. Like, what do you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Did you dream about being an author? Do you dream about
Mm,
being a speaker? Is it that you want community and connection? Because we have
yeah,
a blast with this. Like, I
yeah.
mean, we have a really good time with
Mm,
our cohorts and our authors. And I've said it on the show before, but I'll say it again. Like, one of my favorite things is logging
mm,
onto social media and
mm,
seeing authors that met each other through Connected in Wisdom Press or through Women Connected in Wisdom, and now
yeah,
they're doing collaborations together and they're doing events together and they're
yeah.
like it is really a fun way to get connected
Mhm.
with women and people who identify as women all across this world. Like, we got Jalan in
Yeah.
Alexandria, Egypt. We
Mhm.
need to plan a trip over there with our Women Connecting Wisdom. We need to plan a
Hey,
cultural
I was
tour,
thinking about it because now we have multiple stops in Africa now, you know what I mean?
right?
With Ali Vaya in South
Hmm.
Africa, right? With Jailon in Alexandria, Egypt. Um, and a couple no, she was in the UK. Like you said, we could go all over the place, you know? And for me,
Ready.
I was thinking about it this week because when I was growing up and I was reading Harry Potter in the closet with my flashlight with the dying batteries, I wasn't thinking about being an author or a publisher. Um, but to think about being friends with authors would have been pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like now I know the authors, like I can have not only a whole library like the little nerd in me loves, but these are all books of people that I know. You know what I mean? These are my friends. So to be connected to people who are genuine people, women of purpose and who have resources to help in different dimensions of wellness is
Right.
amazing. And to be able to collaborate in a way that makes sense in the climate and everything has been a beautiful thing.
Right. And lifting
Yeah.
up our voices and stories because they matter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And
And
it's worth a couple of encyclopedias. You know what I mean? Like, just keep going. Whatever you want to say. Yeah, we're here for it.
I love it. All right, friend. So grateful to be connected. And as always, loving our conversation
Me too.
and just delighted that wherever we travel in the world, we get to show up here and connect on Wednesdays
Mhm.
and learn new things
Wow.
from incredible people.
Yes. Yes. So important. So important. So grateful as well. Y'all, this is episode 188. Thank you so much for
Whoop,
joining us
whoop.
tonight. Right? Woo woo. We will be back live at 5 Eastern Standard Time next week. Join us in the comments. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. Peace.
Peace.